Emma stood silent as her stepfather counted the coins, selling her like livestock to strangers. The rough-faced traders examined her like they would a horse, checking her teeth, commenting on her slight build. She kept her eyes down, learned long ago that looking up only brought more pain. "She's healthy enough," the taller trader said, tobacco staining his beard. "Quiet type, good for working." Her stepfather pocketed the money without meeting her gaze. "Take her. One less mouth to feed." The door slammed behind him with finality. They bound her wrists with rope that bit into her skin. The shorter trader, reeking of whiskey, grabbed her arm. "None of your crying now. You'll fetch a good price in Denver." Emma knew what Denver meant. She'd heard whispered stories about girls who disappeared into those places, never seen again. Her stomach churned as they loaded her into the covered wagon like cargo. The wagon lurched forward over rutted roads. Each bump sent her sliding against the wooden sides. Through gaps in the canvas, she caught glimpses of endless prairie grass bending in the wind. Freedom stretched in every direction, but not for her. "Stop thinking about running," the bearded trader called back. "We'll catch you before you get 50 yards." Days blurred together. Stale bread and warm water. Sleeping tied to the wagon wheel. The traders talked over her head about prices and buyers like she wasn't human. On the fourth day, the wagon stopped. Voices outside spoke in a language she didn't recognize. The canvas flap opened, revealing a Lakota camp spread across the prairie. Teepees dotted the landscape like white flowers. "Trading post," the short trader explained to her. "Need supplies before Denver." But through the wagon slats, a pair of dark eyes caught hers. A tall Lakota man stood among a group of warriors, his presence commanding without arrogance. Something in his gaze made her breath catch. Not the predatory look she'd grown to fear, but something else. Recognition, maybe, or pity. The bearded trader jumped down. "Chief Maddow, we got business to discuss." The chief's eyes never left Emma's face. She couldn't look away, even though every instinct told her to hide. In his steady gaze, she saw something she'd forgotten existed in the world. Kindness. "Show me your goods," Chief Maddow said, his English careful but clear. Emma closed her eyes and pressed back against the wagon side. Soon she'd be in Denver, and whatever small spark of hope flickered in her chest would die forever. But the memory of those kind eyes would stay with her, she knew, the last gentle thing she'd ever see. Maddow had seen enough broken spirits to recognize one, but something in the white woman's eyes still fought. The traders spread their wares before him, blankets, knives, coffee, but his attention stayed on the wagon where she sat bound like an animal. "Fine quality goods," the bearded trader said, anxiety creeping into his voice. "Fair prices, too." Maddow nodded absently, studying the woman through the canvas gap. Bruises faded yellow on her wrists. Her dress, once probably blue, hung in tatters, but her spine stayed straight despite everything. "What about her?" He gestured toward the wagon. The short trader grinned, showing missing teeth. "She's not for trade. Got buyers waiting in Denver. Worth more there than anything you could offer." "I see." Maddow picked up a knife, testing its edge. "These blades are dull. Your coffee smells old. Perhaps we have nothing to discuss." The traders exchanged glances. They needed this trade. Their supplies were running low and winter approached. "Now wait," the bearded one said. "Maybe we can work something out. What you got in mind?" Maddow set down the knife. "The woman, plus fair payment for your goods." she's worth 10 times what you're offering. To men who trade in suffering, perhaps." Matto's voice carried quiet steel. "But not to me." The negotiation took an hour. Matto offered horses, furs, and silver ornaments, far more than the woman was worth to traders, less than she was worth as a human being. Finally, greed won over their original plan. Money changed hands. Papers were signed. The woman belonged to him now, according to their white man's law. But Matto had different laws. He approached the wagon slowly, hands visible. She pressed against the far side, eyes wide with terror. "Please," she whispered. "I'll work hard. I won't cause trouble." "What is your name?" She blinked, clearly not expecting the question. "Emma." "Emma." He said it carefully, like it mattered. "I am Matto. Will you come with me?" She had no choice, of course, but he asked anyway. That night, in the privacy of his lodge, Matto cut the ropes from her wrists with his sharpest knife. She flinched at each movement of the blade, expecting pain that never came. "You are not my property," he said when the bonds fell away. "You are not anyone's property." Emma stared at him. "I don't understand." "You are free. Free to leave, free to stay, free to choose." Her laugh held no humor. "Men don't free women. They use them." Matto set the knife aside and moved back, giving her space. "Some men, not all men." She rubbed her raw wrists, tears threatening. "They'll come back for me." "No, the trade is complete. You belong to no one but yourself now." Emma looked toward the lodge entrance, then back at him. Fear and disbelief warred in her expression. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing you do not choose to give." For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Outside, the camp settled into evening rhythms. Children laughed. Women called to each other. Normal sounds of people living freely. "I don't know how to be free," Emma whispered. Matto smiled gently. "Then you will learn." Emma touched the lodge entrance 3 times before finding courage to step outside. The morning sun felt different on her face, warmer somehow, though she couldn't explain why. Around her, the Lakota camp buzzed with daily life. Women tended fires and prepared food. Children played games she didn't recognize. Men worked on weapons and tools. All of them moved with purpose, but without the frantic desperation she remembered from her stepfather's household. An elderly woman approached, her silver hair braided with colorful ribbons. "You must be Emma," she said in careful English. "I am Winona." Emma tensed, waiting for orders or demands. When none came, she nodded cautiously. "Are you hungry?" The kindness in the question nearly broke her. Emma's stomach cramped with hunger, but accepting food felt dangerous. Food meant debt. Debt meant ownership. Winona seemed to understand her hesitation. "Come, sit with me. No payment required." They sat by Winona's fire, sharing flatbread and dried meat. Emma ate carefully, still expecting the food to be snatched away. But Winona only smiled and offered more. "Matto says you're learning to be free," Winona said. Emma nearly choked on her bread. "He told you that?" "He tells me many things, like how you watched the children play for an hour yesterday, how you helped Yellowbird when she dropped her water basket, even though no one asked you to. I shouldn't have." "Why not? Your hands were free. Your heart wanted to help." Emma stared into the fire. "Free hands get punished where I come from." Winona nodded gravely. "Here, free hands choose their own work. Would you like to help me with the afternoon cooking? Only if you choose. The word choose still felt foreign on her tongue. Emma had forgotten she could say no to anything. But Winona waited patiently without pressure or threat. Yes, Emma said finally, I choose to help. They spent the afternoon preparing meals for the camp. Winona taught her which herbs flavored the stew, how to keep the fire at the right temperature, when to add the vegetables. Emma's hands remembered kitchen work, but this felt different, peaceful. You learn quickly, Winona observed. I had to learn quickly. Mistakes meant... Emma caught herself, old fear silencing her tongue. Mistakes here mean we learn better for next time. As evening approached, Matto returned from hunting. He nodded respectfully to Emma, but didn't approach or demand her attention. Instead, he helped other men prepare the day's kills, laughing at something one of them said. Emma watched him without meaning to. His laughter sounded genuine. His movements held none of her stepfather's sharp edges or sudden violence. When he looked her way, his expression held only gentle interest, never demand. He is a good man, Winona said softly. Emma flushed, realizing she'd been staring. I was just observing, learning who to trust. Very wise. That night, alone in the lodge Matto had offered her, Emma lay on soft furs instead of hard ground. The lodge entrance remained unguarded. She could leave any time, walk out into the darkness and disappear forever. But for the first time in years, she didn't want to run. Tomorrow, she planned to help Winona again. Her choice. Her first real choice in longer than she could remember. Outside, the camp settled into peaceful sleep. No angry voices, no sounds of violence, just the gentle night sounds of people who lived without fear. Emma smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow, she would make another choice. And another. Until choosing became as natural as breathing. The sound of wagon wheels made Emma's blood turn to ice. She dropped the water basket she'd been carrying to the river, her whole body freezing in recognition of that particular creaking rhythm. Through the trees, she could see the canvas cover of a familiar wagon approaching the camp. They'd come back for her. Emma ran toward the village, her heart hammering against her ribs. She found Matto near the horse corral, calmly brushing down his stallion. When he saw her face, he immediately set aside the brush. The traitors, she gasped. They're here. Matto's expression hardened, but his voice stayed steady. Stay with Winona. No matter what happens, stay with her. They'll say I belong to them. They'll have papers. You belong to yourself. He touched her arm briefly, the contact warm and reassuring. Remember that. The traders rolled into camp with the same arrogance they'd shown before. The bearded one jumped down from the wagon seat, his face dark with anger. Chief Matto, he bellowed. We got business to finish. Matto walked forward slowly, several of his warriors flanking him. Emma pressed close to Winona, who had appeared at her side like a protective spirit. Our business is finished, Matto said calmly. Like hell it is. You cheated us. That woman's worth 10 times what you paid. Our buyer in Denver is offering triple the original price. We're here to take back what's ours. Emma's breath caught. They'd found a buyer willing to pay more, so they'd come to steal her back. Her old life had taught her this lesson. To powerful men, contracts only mattered when convenient. Show me this contract that says she belongs to you, Matto said. The bearded trader pulled out a crumpled paper. Right here, transaction completed, but we're declaring it void due to fraud. Maddow examined the document carefully. Emma watched his face, seeing the exact moment he found what he was looking for. A small smile touched his lips. "This paper says you sold her to me, completely and permanently. No conditions listed for return." "That's not how it works. According to your white man's law, it is exactly how it works." Maddow's voice carried absolute authority. "The sale is complete. You have no legal claim." The shorter trader stepped forward, hand moving to his gun. "Legal claim don't matter out here, Chief. We'll take her anyway." The temperature of the camp seemed to drop 10 degrees. Maddow's warriors shifted position subtly, suddenly surrounding the traders without appearing threatening. Emma realized she was witnessing something she'd never seen before. Strength used for protection rather than intimidation. "You are outnumbered 20 to 1, Maddow said conversationally. "Your weapons are old. Your horses are tired. Your supplies are low. Do you really want to die for someone else's money?" The bearded trader looked around nervously, finally seeing their situation clearly, but greed made him stupid. "She's just one woman. Why do you care?" Maddow stepped closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Because she chose to stay. And here, that choice is honored." The words hit Emma like a physical blow. He wasn't keeping her because he owned her. He was protecting her because she'd chosen to stay. The difference felt enormous. The traders saw the futility of their position. After several tense minutes of posturing, they climbed back onto their wagon. "This ain't over," the bearded one spat. "Yes," Maddow said quietly. "It is." Emma watched the wagon disappear into the distance, hardly able to believe they were really gone. She looked at Maddow, who was already turning back to his interrupted work. "Why?" she asked. He paused. "Why what? Why did you protect me? You could have let them take me and avoided trouble." Maddow considered this seriously. "Would you have wanted me to?" Emma's answer came without hesitation. "No." "Then that is why." As simple as that. Her choice mattered to him. Her voice had found its power. For the first time in years, Emma spoke without being asked a question first. "I want to tell you about before," she said to Maddow as they sat by the evening fire. He looked up from the arrowheads he was sharpening, giving her his complete attention. No impatience, no demands to hurry up or get to the point. Just quiet readiness to listen. Emma drew her knees up, wrapping her arms around them. The words came slowly at first, like water from a long frozen well. "My mother died when I was 12. My stepfather said I was a burden he couldn't afford to keep." She stared into the flames. "He said a lot of things, mostly about how useless I was, how much trouble I caused just by existing." Maddow set down his work entirely, his dark eyes never leaving her face. "When I turned 16, he started talking about finding me a husband, but the men who came around..." Emma shuddered. "They weren't looking for wives. They were looking for servants who couldn't leave." "You tried to refuse?" "Once." Emma's hand unconsciously touched her ribs where the bruises had long since faded. "He made it clear that my opinions didn't matter. I was property to be sold to the highest bidder." The fire crackled between them. Somewhere in the camp, children laughed as they played their evening games, normal sounds of a world where childhood was protected, not bartered away. Then Frank Morrison made an offer. He was old enough to be my grandfather, but he had money. My stepfather accepted immediately. Emma's voice grew smaller. "Frank wanted things. things I didn't know how to give, when I couldn't, when I disappointed him. She stopped, the words too painful to continue. Maddow leaned forward slightly. You survived him. It wasn't a question. It was recognition of strength she'd never acknowledged in herself. Frank died of fever 2 winters ago. I thought I'd be free then, but his debts passed to me. My stepfather said I owed money to dangerous people. That's when he made the deal with the traders. Emma looked directly at Maddow for the first time during her story. I stopped believing anyone would ever see me as more than a burden or a thing to be used. But you. She struggled for words. You asked my name. You asked what I wanted. You acted like my answers mattered. They do matter. Why? What makes me worth protecting? Maddow was quiet for so long, Emma thought he wouldn't answer. When he spoke, his words carried the weight of absolute truth. You helped Yellowbird when she dropped her basket, even though you expected to be punished for acting without permission. You spent your afternoon teaching children to weave grass into braids, even though no one asked you to. You see Winona struggling with heavy water jars and immediately offer to carry them. Emma blinked, surprised he'd noticed such small things. You think you were worthless because cruel people told you so. But I watch your actions, and they tell me who you really are. Kind, generous, strong enough to survive what would have broken weaker people. Tears she'd held back for months finally spilled over, not from sadness, but from the shock of being truly seen for the first time in her life. I want to stay, she whispered. Not because I'm afraid to leave or because I have nowhere else to go. I want to stay because... She took a shaky breath. Because here I remember who I am underneath all the hurt. Maddow smiled, the expression transforming his entire face. Then stay, for as long as your heart calls this place home. Emma wiped her eyes, feeling something shift inside her chest. A door opening, a voice finding its strength. What if my heart calls this place home forever? Then, forever you will be welcome. The words settled around her like a warm blanket. For the first time since childhood, Emma felt the solid ground of belonging beneath her feet. She had chosen this man, this place, this life, and her choice was honored. That night, she fell asleep not to the sound of her own fearful heartbeat, but to Maddow's quiet humming as he worked by the fire. The melody spoke of contentment, of home, of a future that stretched ahead bright with possibility.